that men will take to come to pain. The decisions, the choices that you make. And you realize it after the fact. Oh, this was all such a bad thing for me. What was I thinking? Pain leads to more pain. And of course that's true because he's told the queen is dead. And then he says it, it's over. He realizes it. He says, I'm sick with fear. Are there no swords here? Has no one a blow for me? And then echoing the lines of Antigone earlier at line 129, I alone am guilty. Notice he uses the word alone. I know it, he says. I'm the one responsible, and in the end, I'm ready to die. Now, there's always been a debate about whether Creon's going to go off and kill himself, or is he going to live with his... Remember, Oedipus doesn't kill himself at the end of that play, Oedipus Rex. He blinds himself. There's no sense of what Creon is ultimately going to do other than to be let off. He says it, though. Lead me away. I have been rash and foolish. Now, hey, here, the word rash doesn't mean some problem on your skin. That's a different use of the word rash. Here, rash means unthinking. Right? Reckless, if you will. I've been rash and foolish. I've killed my son and my wife. I looked for comfort. My comfort lies here dead. Whatever my hands have touched has come to nothing. Let's put it in our notes at 3a. We're going to study, I said when you're seniors, this play of Shakespeare's Macbeth. There's arguments that this, without question, may be one of the most important plays Shakespeare ever studied. But in Macbeth, we're going to hear this same thing about nothing. That's going to be an important soliloquy statement at the end of that play. He says, everything I ever wanted to do has come to nothing. And then the F word, fate has brought all my pride to a thought of dust. In the end, doesn't matter. I completely jacked it up. The chorus will finish by saying there is no happiness where there is no wisdom. No wisdom but in submission to the gods. The only wisdom is submission, humility. And by the way, you can write this down when you're a senior as well. We'll study T.S. Eliot's classic East Coker from Four Quartets. And that will be it. The only wisdom is the wisdom of humility. Humility is endless. We'll get to that when we're later. Notice, big words are always punished, and proud men in old age learn to be wise. Central teaching of this text is you better gain some humility. Don't think too highly of yourself, because inevitably payback's coming. Payback's coming. Or as we once said to a group of sophomores, and then later a student found me many years later and said, I remember when you said it. Some of the words you speak to the people who have raised you will come back to haunt you many, many years later. Sadly, that's also true for parents often with their kids. They speak words, and then they have to live with those words many, many years later. All right, let's now do a quick annotation of the entire play. At 2a, what for you is the major message of a play like this, the major theme of a play like this? For Sophocles, by the way, it was a religious message and theme. You better pay attention to the will of the gods, and you better show reverence. You might see this more as a play about humility. You might see this as a play that says, be careful what you say, because sometimes words can't be taken back. Be careful what you do, because sometimes actions can't be taken back. And you recognize what you've done, but sometimes it's too late, and you can't undo it. That we have a word for, fate, right? Try to be wise and be intentional then in the words you speak and in the actions that you create. At 2b, well, obviously we have all kinds of interesting issues of characterization, no doubt. We have challenges in regards to who do you see as the protagonist, the antagonist. Although it's a 3b question, we'll ask it already here. For you, who is the protagonist of this play? With whom do you most identify? Do you identify with Antigone? Do you identify with Creon? Do you identify with Haman? Finally, at 3a, we've mentioned so many titles, but I want to give you one more. In your senior year, we'll study a famous poem by a writer named Matthew Arnold. The name of the poem is Dover Beach. Write it down. In that play, Dover Beach, there will be a reference to Sophocles. Sophocles, who, we're told, every time He heard the ocean's waves. He thought of human misery, suffering, the pain of our life that's so often caused by us. We create our own pain and our own suffering, and then we get to live with that fact, which is, of course, more pain and more suffering. Finally, at 3b, we could ask this question about this play. Does everyone in this play get what they deserve? Does Antigone get what she deserves? Does Creon get what he deserves? Does Haman and Eurydice, Haman's mom, get what she deserves? Do the Thebans get what they deserve? Should they have earlier on stood up and said to Creon, you're wrong about this position that you're taking? We come back to the old man Tiresias to finish this play. Who is the Tiresias in your life that has given you a warning and you either listened to it or you did not listen to it? And now you have to kind of come to that realization. There are some things I can't undo. There are some things I can't fix because there is no fixing. There's no bringing back. The finality, if you will, of this text. Powerful, right? Well, we turn now from this text to take a few seconds now to take a look at a couple of other texts. We're going to look at an Ibsen text, and then, of course, we're going to look at Julius Caesar. And we'll look at the ways in which actions lead to more actions, which, of course, lead to ultimate tragedy. I hope you've been challenged by your study of Greek mythology and, of course, Sophocles and Antigone. Thank you.